Quarterback School Live. We are locked in, ready to go. Whoo! Little Friday night light. Friday light, I guess. What day is it? Who knows? I'm excited to do some live here. I got a bit of a funky setup going right now, so you're going to have to hang with me, but we're going to make this thing work. I'm excited. Lots of fun stuff to talk through. If you're a fan of Elite 11, I'm going to try to do kind of like a mental recap here. I don't have any like crazy amount of notes or any hot takes per se. I'm sure there'll be some mild takes perhaps, but I'm excited to talk about it. Good to see some familiar faces in the chat. I appreciate y'all as you come in to do what you can and help this thing continue to grow, and hit that like button. Obviously, make sure we're good to go. Make sure I sound all right. All that good stuff that the OGs know what to do on these lives. So I certainly appreciate you guys supporting the channel. We're almost in that, July dark month for the channel. So we're getting close. I slowed down here a little bit the last week or so, just because I've been on a little bit of the camp circuit, got a chance to go up to my alma mater, Davis, and do a camp, then just got back from a couple days at the Elite 11. So might do a few things a little bit more in depth for the Patreon community. I think I've done my presentations in the past for the Patreon community, but maybe do it again because I changed a little bit of the presentation this year. And but basically, we're just going to recap this thing, the Elite 11. So for the people who have no idea, the Elite 11, in my opinion, is one of, if not the premier quarterback camp for kind of the best of the best high schoolers. They have to go to regionals, kind of more local camps, and qualify for this, get invited. Then they invite 20 and try to, it's really about the experience of the 20. It doesn't really matter. I'd hurt people's feelings who the final 11 are. I'm sure the guys are excited to be named in the final 11 and to win it and all that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about, but really the experience is what makes it awesome. And so to me, the Elite 11 thing really starts with the people involved with it. Andy, Brian, Jake running the show a little bit more, stepping into that role as a coach. Always fun to see Yogi. This year they had Coach Carroll come in and talk to the players. And it's just really fun, man. It's a really well-run event. Been to a number of events over the years, and it's really just smooth, professional, polished. The support staff is awesome. I really enjoy my time. I bring my oldest son, so he gets a really cool experience of kind of learning the essence of some of the things that go behind the scenes, and getting to see these guys operate at a high level in person is pretty cool. So that's the main part, like the people of how it goes. And then the other part about it that's just fascinating for me, because my little world, is this, right? Like it's film, it's screen, it's, online interactions, online impact footprint, not a lot of on the field stuff anymore. And so to see what I consider many of the best quarterback, private coaches do their thing, to me is probably my favorite part once you get past like watching the players play and that type of stuff we'll talk about. But seeing these private coaches, man, in their element, do their thing, it's pretty awesome. And really, I'm kind of jealous that I didn't have access to that kind of coaching when I was going through it, not more than anything else. But those guys operate at such a high level, the way they talk about the position, the way they talk about throwing and all those types of things. I just love it. I can't get enough of it. I don't love it enough to want to do that, but I do love it because I think it hones my lexicon and how I talk about and the position and coaching and creating force and consistency and throwing it and spinning it, all that type of stuff that I just love and geek out with. So that part of it is a lot of fun for me to see the coaches. Talk a little bit about the schedule, and then we'll just talk about the guy. I'm sure y'all are most interested with the players that were there. The schedule is really, it's kind of a 3-day compressed thing, where the first day is more of an afternoon, kind of like some initial meetings, which is cool to hear. I'm sure these guys cool to have them hear Pete Carroll talk, and it was fun to hear, his kind of just his aura, his vibe is really authentic. And I think most people know, who are fans of football, understand kind of the spirit that he kind of does his thing with, the positivity, that vibe. It's It's real. I don't think he turns it off. So it's fun to see. It was fun to see in person. Uh, from there, they go on the field. That first night is like, I consider it more of like a drill night, like pod up and drill around. I'm sure there is more to it than that. But for me, that's what it is. It's fun to see him throw for the first time. The next day is really a monster day. It starts with like an early yoga session for them. They've got, over the course of this time, there's an experience for the parents as well. So the parents are like interwoven into kind of monetary support, just learning about NIL, all that type of craziness that comes with being a parent like that. So it's fun to see the parents around too. So it starts with like yoga, doesn't slow down. I'm trying to think what else they have in the morning on the second day. They do some really cool charity stuff. They do, and then we get into like what really I'm there for is more of like a classroom X's and O's session where they pod up with different groups and go through media training, how to be a pro. And then kind of what I do is more of like the introductory classroom session to kind of what I consider like high level X's and O's, like an NFL quarterback meeting. So they get a little taste of that. Then they're on the field for what I think is what most people's probably favorite part of this competition is like the faux pro day, where they go through like 20 throws and are graded on the accuracy and all those types of things. It's really cool. And then they have an accuracy challenge. I really liked how they did it this year. It was all in the same field, so it just felt like a festival. It was pretty cool. And then the final day is more of a morning afternoon session where they do 7-on-7, which I think is really hard to do 7-on-7 with strangers. But they had 4 or 5 really good high schools out there to kind of be the talent on the perimeter, playing defense, playing offense, being the wide receivers, tight ends, those types of stuff. And the quarterback coaches then call the plays. So it's fun for me to see those quarterback coaches kind of in their element, doing their thing, X's and O's wise. It's pretty fun to see. So that's kind of the schedule. And it's a lot, man. It's like just over, I think, 48 hours, right around 48 hours start to finish. It's a lot condensed into that time. So really cool. It is, I'm barely working it. Like I do a couple classroom sessions and I'm exhausted after those things. I can only imagine how tiring it is for the players, just a whirlwind kind of experience. But it's got to be cool for them to kind of meet their peers. I'm sure they probably know many of them, but like the national landscape, the national recruits, to kind of get a chance to hang out in an informal session. It creates a really cool fraternity bond between those guys as they go through kind of the rest of their careers. All right, I'll check in with the chat here just to make sure I haven't kind of gone off the rails. This mic was working. I do appreciate you guys coming in to the chat. Let me know kind of where you're coming in from, where you're checking in from. I'll do my best to kind of monitor it as much as I possibly can. I see a couple questions in there that I'll probably get to at some point. I'm going to try to pull up on my screen kind of a roster from the 2024 for the players that were there. As kind of a preface to this before it starts, I just want to say I'm not going to talk in depth about every single player. I'm just not. I knew one-ish. I knew of one of these guys before we got there just because he's a local San Diego guy. But like, I don't know many of these players in depth at all. I've watched almost none of them play high school film. So I'm not going to pretend to be the expert. Okay. There are many people in this industry, like the star industry, the college recruiting world, that know significantly more about these guys. All I'm going to be able to do is kind of talk about the snapshot that I saw when I was there. That's it. Okay, so you take it for what it is. Yeah, hope that makes sense. We're not going to talk about like projecting what somebody might look like wherever the hell they're going to go. Okay, that's not my world. All right, let's see if this thing works. Boom. I think that worked. See if it stays there the whole time. All right, so first off, this is a talented group, man. It really is a talented group. Those were my kind of overall impressions right at the gate. I want another kind of bookend I want to put about this. I coached high school football for a handful of years. I try pretty hard to stay out of the high school game just because it's not my wheelhouse. It's not somewhere I spend a lot of time. In addition, I'm just not that comfortable like talking shit about what I would consider like young people like this. Not that college guys aren't young people, but like I'm not going to give you any like cons on some of these guys or things that maybe I thought that they struggled with. Like, I just don't think it's appropriate. Like, I just don't. So if that's what you're coming for, you're not going to see it here. I'm going to tell you mostly about the guys who really impressed me. If I don't mention them or don't mention you, it's not that you didn't. It's just that I'm not going to sit here and go through every one of these cats. 20 guys is a lot. We'll start with Russell. He won it. I thought he was in the top group the entire time going through there. There were a handful of guys that I thought just physically looked different. You know, I think of St. Clair, I think of Deuce, and I think of Russell, and I think of those guys from the, walking off the bus, do more than look the part. And then you get out there and see them throw, and it's even more impressive. And I really think those three guys, in my mind, it just kind of, probably in my opinion, fell to who had a little bit of a better day on the last day in 7-on-7. I wouldn't have been mad with either of those three guys being the overall MVP. I think they're all three got the capacity to be really special players at the next level. Russell specifically, just, when the moment was biggest, performed some of his best on that last day. I thought St. Clair had a really nice day before, that Saturday night before. I think it's difficult when you're probably one of, if not the favorite, to come in there and operate at a high level 3 days in a row. And so, maybe it didn't go quite his way the last day, the 7-on-7 thing. Again, it's impossible to put too much into that because you are out there with strangers. Like, you're throwing to guys you don't know, which is really hard to do. But it's not going to take away from someone else having a great day, a better day. I think Deuce going to Notre Dame, big lefty. All three of those guys to me are just physical freaks, and they spin the ball really well. And they were, all three of them, really consistent. It was just fun to see kind of those guys rise to the occasion, kind of battle with each other, not necessarily blink. And it just so happened that, only one guy is going to be the MVP in my mind. But I mean, that's no knock on those three guys. I mean, I thought they were kind of in a class of their own as far as what it looked like, and then their performance over the course of the 3 days. Next dudes I want to talk about, the guy and again, I don't know. I literally had only heard of one of these guys before I even got there, and that's Achilles Smith Jr., the San Diego dude, who I thought had a very nice camp, goes about it the right way, super thoughtful, asks great questions. You can see significant room for improvement. He's a big, strong, tall guy, but he wants to get better. He asks all the right questions, and I'm certainly pulling for him. The dude who, if I didn't know what's the right way to say this? The guys who weren't what I would consider like physical freaks, like some of these guys are just, and maybe they work crazy hard. Maybe it's, just birth given. But there are some guys that are just huge, massive, big dudes. Now, I personally think it's kind of hard to apples and apples compare to other guys. The guys that I would classify as not necessarily the physical freaks that, just look so explosive, are taller, stronger, those types of things. The guy that I thought spun it the best the entire time, and maybe one of, if not, I thought Julian Sayin spun it great at the last one. But the dude that I think absolutely rips, like cuts the ball, is Tramell Jones Jr. I think he's committed to Florida State, or is committed to Florida State. I think I annoyed some of the other coaches with the Elite 11 just because I was so high on him, and still am high on him. He probably didn't have the greatest production in the 7-on-7 and had some probably unfortunate 7-on-7 picks. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for him, but spinning it, like the physical act of how he throws it, how he flicks it, to me is stunning. Like, it's that good. It's fucking crazy, man. It really is. He's not a huge dude. He's got a little bit of like point guard vibes as far as how he distributes it and played a little bit. He maybe wasn't as aggressive as I would have loved to see him on 7-on-7 time. But man, spinning it, I personally thought that he was threw it as well, if not better, than damn near everybody over the course of 3 days. Now, again, I admit that I don't come into this with any like pre-ranking stars, watch film, any of that stuff. I'm just talking about just throwing it in the camp setting. Jones Jr., bro, cuts it. I mean, it is awesome to watch. I didn't get a chance to tell him face to face, but talked to a handful of people that I think he works with, and it was really, really impressive. It was really awesome. The other dude who kind of falls into that same category that I felt myself gravitated towards watching him spin it was Sperry. I think he's going to Oklahoma. Another dude doesn't quite come off his hand like Trammell, but really impressive. Thought he had some great moments. Thought he was really consistent with his ball control. It was fun to watch. Another dude that I think everybody's interested in, Julian Lewis, the dude who's, I think the way that I understand it, and again, I'm not in this world, he reclassified to be a year older. So technically he could be going into his junior year. So he probably is a little younger than most of these guys. And again, I don't, if that's not right, bro, don't come at me sideways. I don't really care. But like, that's how it was described to me. I thought Julian Lewis, really, really threw it well day 2. Like, I thought it was impressive how he maybe didn't throw it as well as he wanted to on the first night. Oh, and I forgot to say, on the Friday night, the big thing is after the drills is this rail challenge where you throw like a hole shot versus cover 2. So you get to see kind of that throw. And the thing I didn't mention about that was that the college counselors that are there, Dylan Gabriel was there spinning it. I don't know if I just have never watched Dylan Gabriel close enough or what. Obviously, I think he's went to UCF, transferred to Oklahoma, and now is going to Oregon. Bro, that dude was spinning it. I mean, spinning it. It looked different. Obviously, it's going to look different than the high school guys, but like, these aren't just high school randoms. These are the best of the best. And so it was different. It was different. He was that good. So I'm definitely going to go watch some Dylan Gabriel here before we get to July. So if you're interested in that, probably hop over to the Patreon community. What was I talking about? Oh, Julian Lewis. So Julian Lewis probably isn't as strong or physically explosive as some of these other guys whipping it, spinning it, but it comes off his hand really consistently. I thought he got better as the camp went on. I will say, and this isn't going to come off as a negative, or this is just my take on being around him a little bit. When it wasn't going great for him, I felt like he's one of he like verbalized some of the things he was saying to himself, like the self-talk part of it. I just didn't think was helping him, if that makes sense. So and it's not easy to stay positive if you don't spin it the way that you want to. The throw doesn't come off your hand like you expect it to. But like, just the tools as he continues to probably get older, continue to mature, continue to get more experience, the dude can spin it like almost no one there. I mean, he won the pro day. I think he probably came damn near winning the accuracy challenge. He's used to throwing strikes constantly. But for whatever reason, you're using new balls. Like, who the hell knows whose ball this is? You might be a Wilson guy. This thing might look like it's a Nike ball. There's a number of different excuses that I would think are valid. Okay, even as I hate excuses, hearing myself say it, there is some validity with that stuff. But just the self-talk to me, and it wasn't a one-off thing. I heard it a few times where I was like, fuck, should I, I'm not the dude's parent. I'm not going to tell him what to say or think. I just felt like he could have helped himself by not necessarily going in that spot. And it's hard for me to say that because these dudes are so talented. They have so much pressure. I could not imagine being a 5-star with the national media attention that is. I mean, there's so many media members walking around the track, multiple camera setups. I mean, it's crazy. As a teenager, I honestly can't even imagine it. But I did think that was one spot. If he ever sees this or hears this or someone gets at him, that would be the one spot I would challenge him with. Like, he can obviously spin it at a really high level, but just when it doesn't go your way, the way that you frame it to yourself. I thought Dr. Gervais, one of the guys who comes out and speaks to the group every year, he had a really nice moment after one of the practices where he said, you can only have one thought at a time. You might as well make it positive. Now, that doesn't mean you're always going to do that. Okay, that's not realistic. But if you work on it, if you catch yourself in real time saying, instead of making some like, they're going to think this or that, like some negative comment, like just reaffirm yourself about like, I got it next time. I got it next. There's so many opportunities in settings like this to get the next throw that I thought he really, really bounced back. I might not have heard him vocally bounce back, but physically, the way that he performed in the biggest moments on that pro day, the accuracy challenge, I thought was pretty awesome. What else we want to talk through? There are a handful of other guys I got to make sure that I mention here. Jaron, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. He won the rail shot. The dude from Hawaii, big lefty. I mean, fucking spinning it. Some really, really impressive arm talent. Like how that dude is a 3-star with, not every school beating down his door that needs a quarterback right now. I have no idea, but absolute rare elite arm talent. The other guy that I thought was really impressive, building on the context, was McDaniel. So I think McDaniel was a late ad for someone who scratched. And man, he came out and looked the part from the jump. I mean, it was really impressive. I can only imagine how pissed you would be to not get the initial invite. Then you don't prepare like you would if you knew you were going. And then you get thrown into it, and you probably haven't done as much preparation as other guys for what the format is, for everything. And then to come out there and play and throw it as well as he did was pretty impressive. I thought he had a really nice 7 on as well, just competitive in it. It was cool to see because I thought he was thrown into a tough situation. The other dude who was absolutely the tough as hell guy is Longstreet. I think he's going to A&M. Is that right? Yeah. He's out there on one wheel. I didn't ask him because I never liked people asking me when I was hurt about things, but he's out there with a spat in June, fighting through a camp to compete at a high level, and he is twitchy and rips it. And it was impressive, man. Ear must be here. It was fucking impressive. It really was, the fact that he battled through that thing. And yeah, the other guy I thought that was really impressive, Malik Washington. It was fun to see him in a few different settings, but I felt like in the 7-on-7, it was fun to see him kind of take some ownership about what he wanted called, how, the command in the huddle is something that's really hard to replicate in settings like that because you are dealing with strangers. It's not your coach, it's not your system. But it was fun to see him kind of thrive in those moments. I feel like that's pretty close to it. And it's not that if I didn't mention the guys that they had a terrible camp. They really didn't. It was just the other ones, the ones that I mentioned, stuck out to me a lot. So, all right, get back to the thing. I appreciate everybody suffering through that monologue. That was a lot of me talking. So we'll try to see if I can come back and get this thing back to a normal screen. There it is. Just like that, we're back. All right. What else we got? If you have a question about any of those guys, maybe guys that I didn't mention, feel free to throw it in now. I'm not positive that I'll get there because I don't really have a strong opinion on 20 dudes that I barely know. But if something is there that resonates, I'm happy to chat about it. Otherwise, we'll just go into the chat here. It's not going to turn into a a long live here. So now's the time. If you ever wanted to get it in, again, I appreciate as you come into this thing to hit the like button. Oh, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. I should have pulled up a thing I could slide into the live. But I've been struggling on Twitter, X, formerly Twitter, whatever you want to say, for the last few months. If you follow the channel closely, you probably have heard me complain about losing my access to my Twitter account. Probably my fault. I don't know. But trying to integrate the Twitter into my new website. If you haven't checked out the website, the link is in the video description. New website, got some AI over there where you can ask me anything and it pulls you to videos. I really like it. But was trying to integrate auto uploading onto the website, and it totally screwed my Twitter. I finally got it back this morning. And really the only way I got it back was because one of the coaches, one of my favorite coaches in the private world, Quincy Avery, dude coaches damn near every quarterback in the league, half the league. He came up to me and was like, "Hey, are you taking a break on Twitter or something?" And I gave him a nice spiel about being locked out. And he's like, I know somebody, da-da-da. I mean, he is the ultimate fixer. I don't want people coming at him all across the internet about trying to fix their Twitter, but he got it done in hours once he said he would do it. It was fucking impressive, man. I really appreciated Quincy. I already told him, but hey, man, it was awesome. I appreciate it. So I got the Twitter thing back. Not that I'm going to be all over the place in the summer, but that thing is a gold mine for me in the fall. So I really appreciate it. All right. Josh, appreciate the kind words. Sean, as always, the diphthong throws me sideways, but I appreciate you, dude. So Sean, anyone stand out on the whiteboard? Do you think offenses are more or less complex than when you started? So the whiteboard thing. So I would never put someone on the whiteboard unless I knew that they could handle what I was going to ask them. I've seen too many people tailspin in that situation and really ruin someone and turtle someone from maximizing their confidence and learning. So I would never put someone on the whiteboard ever. Maybe if I coached you and like we were in a quarterback room, but even then I was always more of like a private test situation. So we did the test thing for them, and the test is tough because it's hard to test someone when you don't have an offense that you're installing. So the test was a challenge. If I do it next year, the test, I'll probably make it significantly shorter and easier. But I wanted them to get a taste of the kind of level of detail and nuance that goes into learning, communicating, understanding of ball at that level. So nobody stood out on the whiteboard. I'm not going to ever do that. Our offense is more or less complex than when you started. I think they're both. I think they have the capacity to be significantly more robust, like heavier volume, because now you got the spread stuff. You've got all the multiple elements of shifts, motions, just a much more kind of robust library of stuff like that. But I think if you want guys to play fast and play quickly at all levels, you've got to have the capacity to kind of accordion that thing. If somebody can handle a lot, let's do a lot. If somebody can't handle a lot, well then, let's shave it down. I don't want to give any like definite hard ass kind of comments about little tidbits that I've seen from Brady, but I've seen a handful of things. I don't know if he's doing the rounds or what. I didn't watch the majority of the roast, but I did see him recently talk about like always trying to like not have the offense run a bad play, or like having the capacity to check or what gives it problems or stuff like that. Sometimes, and this is not a knock specifically on just Brady, but sometimes in my experience, guys who are so good, like the best of the best, they can only look at it from their lens, if that makes sense. So that was Brady's lens. That's how he played the position, how he thought it was best run. A lot of coaches don't have the capacity to create a system like that, to teach a system like that, to call a system like that, and or want to trust a quarterback to do shit like that. So to think that that's going to be like how universal football is run is, to me, naive. I don't think stuff like that would be very feasible at lower levels of football for the vast majority of quarterbacks or coaches or systems. So you got to have the capacity at the highest level to have a really complex looking system, but be applicable enough for a new guy off the street to come in and learn it and contribute within a camp. Hope that makes sense. Vlad, boom. What are your favorite coaches to follow for educational content, or when I'm not at the QB school, of course? That's funny. There's a lot of good coaches out there. There's a lot of good content people. I probably this is no knock on like other people that kind of are in the same space that I'm in, because I think that there's a lot of people that probably do really good stuff. I just don't watch it, if I'm being honest. It's not that I don't watch it because I'm not interested in it. I'm not that interested in it, but I also don't want their opinion to muddy my opinion sometimes, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't watch someone's video on something that I'm going to do a video on just because I want my take to be my take. But I do watch quite a bit of like defensive guys stuff. So like I've been a big fan of Coach Vass for a long time, Blitzology, Match Quarters. Trying to think, I'm sure there, Deontay. There's a bunch of people that do really good stuff in that space. So that I'm in that stuff all the time, trying to, hone my craft. Michael Carter, have you watched any film of Drew Allar, Penn State? No. I had a couple people actually ask me about that. That's another guy that I probably need to get to here before July. I'm running out of time. So it's probably going to be Patreon community. It's going to be that Penn State dude, and it's going to be Dylan Gabriel. I think that's I don't know if I have anybody else on the pipeline that I'm trying to get to. Let me see what else we got here. I saw Michael up top earlier with a question. See if I can get there. When designing offensive plays, how do you decide in the playbook which direction the offensive line is sliding to? I understand that the center can change the call free snap. Oh, that reminds me. I was going to do another. Fuck, I want to do that. Maybe that will be an August video. I saw a thing where Jason Kelsey came out and said like what one play he wanted to be like a mulligan. And then he only showed like the tight version of it, or like the broadcast version of it. And I was like, damn, I really would like to see like if they would have blocked it correctly, what would have been down the field. And he said, because I think they ran it twice, and he whatever. We can talk, and I'll talk about it. But I'm probably going to do that video in August. How did I even get on that subject? Oh, when designing offensive plays, how do you decide in the playbook which direction the offensive line is sliding to? That's a good question. So, as like a general rule, the offensive line for me, if you're sliding in a 5-person protection, I would want to slide away from my initial hot or my initial read. If you're in a 6-person protection, I would want to slide, initially probably you want that hot, if you've got a dual on the back, to be wherever your eyes are going to be first. That's how I want to do it. Now, if it's a mirrored concept, 6-1, half dozen to the other. Some plays have different checkdowns. So if you need the check down to the right, then you're going to slide the line to the left. Those types of things come into play sometimes on certain plays. I think when you get into game plan world, I was a lot more conscious of sliding based on personnel. If they've got a dude somewhere on the defensive line, let's make sure we're sliding to him as often as possible. At the high school level, I was a big fan of full slides. So we would often full slide to the dude side and then kind of let our back live off the edge one-on-one, or go 7-person protection full slide. So yeah, hope that works. Josh, Tavian St. Clair should have won. And he was winning after 2 days. I follow it closer than most, and I feel like they gave the MVP to someone else just so the whole thing wasn't about Sinclair. I mean, I would disagree, dude. I mean, I can't disagree about the top part. I thought he was probably the number one guy at the first 2 days. I just thought it's a 3-day camp. I mean, it's not like some crazy ass thing where the guy who was like not in the top group jumped everybody to the front. Those guys were really kind of. So I would never say how those things. Would never talk about like the actual conversations that happen in the room where they talk, or the coaches talk about, the ranking or the order. But I will tell you that it's in depth. It's probably more information. I'll be honest, it's more information than I want. A lot of these guys have information and coach some of these guys and really know them and see them in regionals and just have different relationships than I do. It's often too much information for me, more information than I'm interested or want to hear. But everything is discussed, and I felt like, at least in my mind, there were a group, and you could have even thrown Julian Lewis in that group after the second day, of like the top 4 guys that I thought all had a chance to win it. Now, if St. Clair would have came out there and lit the world on fire in the 7-on-7 and looked the exact same, yeah, he probably would have won it. I just think the other guys had a better third day. And I don't think I was I know I wasn't the only person that said that or that thought that. John, Elite 11 Europe. Have I seen this somewhere? Would you be involved anyway? John, hell yes. That's a great idea. Should talk to my guy Brian Stump. Get him going to Europe. He loved the more travel. No, I'm joking. But if you did the Elite 11 finals for Europe, I would love to be a part of that. Count me in, dog. Frankfurt, let's go. Steelers DB. Could I get you on my channel to talk Justin Fields? I mean, maybe. I don't have any like hot takes on Justin Fields, dog. Like I literally did every game last year. Sorry. I'm not really sorry. I don't have any. I hope he plays this year. I want to watch him. I want him to get better. I want all those things that everybody wants for him that's pulling for him. We'll see. Peter, who is your fave TV analyst? Jesus, mouthful. I would probably say Greg Olson. Just because I like hearing like a different perspective than the quarterback kind of centric thing. It's probably blasphemy, but we'll see. I'm pulling for Tom. I think Tom's got the chance to be really good. I honestly think that job is crazy difficult. I also like Yogi Roth, my guy Yogi, the college world. Yeah, I don't know. No. I mean, I don't have like there have been guys in the past that I've been all about the mute button on. I feel like I don't do that quite as much anymore, just because normally I have multiple games on and just kind of don't really pay attention to the color that much. All right, what else we got? Any more Elite 11 questions? I feel like, did I touch on everything I wanted to touch on for the most part? Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add that I didn't say is it's a really cool experience, man. Not only to like give back a little bit and be part of it from my end, but just to see these dudes compete with this kind of support in that kind of like pressure for a young person, in a tough spot. There's a lot of tough situations that they're in, and they fail maybe for the first time publicly, or don't play as high as well as they would like, but still hopefully come away with it, understanding that it was a great experience and have the capacity to get better and improve out of it. It's pretty sweet. Jay-Z, just a perfect douchebag comment to finish off this thing. See if I can mute your ass. How do we know to? Put user in timeout. Hide user from channel. Well, hide user from channel. There you go. Have a nice one. Have a nice life. All right. So we're right on cue. Do me a favor as we get out of here. Check out the new website. Check out the AI. Ask me anything. Let me know what you think about it. Come at me back on Twitter or X, because I'm back live, and I just appreciate the the support for the channel. We're getting close to July, so if there's anyone besides the Penn State and the Oregon quarterback Gabriel, let me know who you want to see. And appreciate y'all. See you on the other side. Have a good one.